So welcome. This is our agenda for tonight. So we have a lot of topics that we will be covering, and our goals to help you be able to identify an information need, gain some experience in identifying where to find information and how to find information, and then gain some experience in evaluating sources. As it says at the bottom there, this slide deck, we will, each of us class librarians will make it available to our project centers so that you can go back through it, get any information that you might have missed. And we also have a number of links to other resources that you can access through these slides. So your background chapter is what you're working on, and here are a number of ways that we can help you in your research and getting the information you need to put together a successful background chapter. We can help you find scholarly articles and sources and review all of those, identify relevant works, situate your research, putting your research that you're doing in the context of what else has been done on that topic, because your research is actually adding into that collection of research on a particular topic. Then we can also help you manage your knowledge, organize your citations, your attributions, and things like that. We can help you, and then also the Writing Center can help you with writing specific kinds of questions. They're great and definitely should take advantage of using those. And over on the left quickly, this is a screenshot of the IQP research guide. The link is down below. This is an online guide that we've created especially for this class that covers all aspects of searching and researching. And so what I said earlier that...
Okay, I think it's my turn, handing off the baton.
Yeah.
Cool. And just so everybody knows, I put the IQP research guide link in the chat, so do check it out if you have a chance, and I would recommend starring it too, because you would probably be coming back to it. Okay, hello everyone, I'm Jason. I'm also a research and reference librarian at Gordon. So one of the broader conversations that we like to at least touch upon with our students is the broad domains of research and knowledge that you're probably going to want to incorporate for a successful project, but a nuanced project that really cuts to the core of the kind of work you're doing for your sponsor and the kind of work that's reflective of the proposal as it comes together. So broadly, we look at the social sciences, the technical fields, the community level information, and we generally speaking ask students to identify the overlap between these domains of knowledge and research. Within the social sciences, something we'll talk about quite a bit tonight, and for many of you, it's probably your first exposure to a lot of the social sciences, so feel free to ask questions as we get through this. Social research fields can give you quite a lot of insight into not just comparative projects, but from different positions or vantage points from different social actors. So social science research can give you emphasis or insight into the way in which NGOs, nonprofits, or international institutions approach a problem, perhaps the way corporate institutions or entities also, broadly social institutions like government or other policy agents. And we ask for students to look for comparisons between different contexts that might be applicable to the kind of work that you're also doing from your sponsor's proposal. In terms of technical information, this is usually one of those things WPI students really have a firm sense of. This could be anything from a definition within a discipline, a particular kind of workflow or process that integrates multiple actors or spaces of activity over time. Surely something like industry standards, and we can help you identify some of those, and we can help you broadly think about how those can enrich your projects with what we have access to, and certainly best practices. And anything in the realm of sort of business management or organization, best practices is going to be key language when you're doing searches, just to kind of think about drilling down onto relevant comparisons that'll really help you guide your own work and see where others have done good things where others have failed. On a local level, in terms of community information, think about things, generally speaking, like demographics. I like to emphasize geography and the role of the physical environment. Broadly speaking, the network of stakeholders that impact or influence decisions, but also feel the full impact of some of the problems or issues that you're addressing on the ground. And certainly cultural conditions, and this is going to overlap with some social science research, particularly when it comes to things like anthropology or sociology. Phil, you want to give me a couple of clicks through?
Yep, let's see. Let's get this. There we go.
Great. Cool. Yeah, look, we have a whole dynamic thing happening here. Yeah, and just to specify a little bit, to move a little bit more from abstraction, the social sciences are really adept at understanding the conditions, or generally speaking, the policies from which those conditions arise, broadly, the structures which facilitate or impede a project's success or failure. Moreover, it can help contextualize relevant events, significant events, both in historical memory, but also in terms of the project, in terms of what's maybe deliverable, achievable in real time, based on the constraints you'll be working under. In terms of technical stuff, examples abound, of course, business models or integration strategies. I've worked with a lot of groups in the past that have worked to integrate social media tools or broad, let's say, search engine optimization tools to understand different consumer bases or networks of usage when it comes to digital tools and assets. Maybe even broadly local climate, and we mean the weather. Right. And specifically, that could be a kind of technical thing, right? But oftentimes could impact a project's outcome. I'm admitting people while this is happening, so forgive me if I'm kind of doing 5 things at once. On the local level, obviously, think about some traditional socioeconomic metrics or indicators, things like gender or race when it comes to a particular environment or community, things like income and mobility as they relate to education, and maybe more broadly, the values and beliefs within a local cultural space. And again, look for the overlap. Look for research, and this is what we like to say, look for research with similar groups being observed, similar societal conditions under investigation, and projects with similar technical ambitions. Okay, Phil, did you want to give me another click? Thank you. Oh, great. So let's say that we had a hypothetical. Let me admit a couple other people. And let's say that we had a hypothetical. And this is something we like to do when we have a kind of classroom space to be interactive. So let's say that you're working with a sponsor. Yeah, and let's say your sponsor is the Community Fridges of Worcester. Yeah, and let's say your proposal, your sponsor's proposal, is asking you to develop a data collection tool with some kind of tracking element based on the usage of a community fridge. Now, I generally ask what a community fridge is, but I think it's generally in the name, right? And it's a fridge that's public access, that's stocked through the endeavors of a large network of stakeholders, people that donate, people that collect food, and clearly people that administer and maintain those spaces. And they're there for the community. And obviously, food scarcity, food insecurity has generally become a larger topic for a lot of communities, particularly in urban environments. So we would ask, what would you need to know? As you are approaching this kind of issue, this kind of question, oftentimes you're given these sort of broad designations to kind of work under. And this is always that moment where, sort of thinking back to that poll everywhere question, it's always difficult to try to identify where to start, where to begin, and then where to connect our tools and systems and resources to those kinds of visions that you have for a very novel project that you hopefully can complete in real time. So thinking just broadly about some of the things that we kind of cooked up as a research and instructional team, when it comes to definitions or technical things, you might want to think about things like sensors or tracking software, something with an analytic capacity. You obviously might want to think about broadly the specs of a fridge. And somebody always mentions that when I ask that question to a class. It's something I always never really thought of at first, but then it kind of connects to this next thing, the shelf life of a fridge, and really kind of its usage, right? And the wear and tear it kind of sustains. Would you want like a commercial industrial fridge? Is there a price difference? What is the maintenance? And how does it hold up outdoors, right? If you then think about some specific kind of local community snapshot level information, certainly you'd want to know about general population metrics from the Worcester area. You could find that in the census. There's a wonderful plethora. I saw a great article in the Washington Post the other day about analyzing the census and really kind of the interesting things you can pull out of that. Certainly communities, specifically their cultures that might be most directly affected by problems of food scarcity, and other stakeholders within the network that might be impactful, noteworthy, or could have some skin in the game, so to speak, that could really enrich this experience or provide some meaningful insight based on their own experiences on the ground. And then some of the social science stuff. And this we have to kind of hold ourselves back because you can really go down the rabbit hole here. First thing I would think about is, how would you define food insecurity? And this is something the social research fields can really give you a stable, defined concept from which others have done the research. And if you think about what food insecurity might mean, this could mean a lot of things on different levels. Is this a caloric conversation, i.e. is this physiological? And obviously there's guidelines and insight into that. But then maybe it's a conversation about consumer prices, right? And the quality of food based on different price points. That's socioeconomic, that's economic, that's politics, that's corporate production of food systems. And then maybe there's a conversation about marginalization, that perhaps there are groups, there are communities that don't have access to food on the basis of things like large-scale infrastructure development or the treatment of immigrant communities as they come to our country. I would also maybe want to think about what access to healthy foods and the impact might look like. You could obviously, again, think about this developmentally, perhaps the cognitive sphere, but also this conversation about food deserts, right? And that's a spatial conversation. This is always when I like to make a plug for heat maps. It's like a fun tool, librarians like, some of us anyways. But again, thinking about the zones of overlap, you might want to think about where the most optimal place to put a fridge is that'll serve the most community members in need. So again, thinking about these kinds of things. And then on a policy regulatory level, think about SNAP and how that's now accepted at farmers markets and how broadly we can work to use programs in place to foster more inclusive practices to address things like food insecurity. You want to give me one more click, Phil?
Okay.
Great. Oh, and you can barely, go back. You got to put the brakes on.
Doing that surprise. Okay, here we
Okay,
go.
so really quick. And this last thing right down in the corner, the font's not the best. But there is a group, and I'm from Providence, Rhode Island, so shout out to Providence. But there is a group called PVD Community Fridges. And I list that group specifically in the hyperlink there. If we were to click on it, you'll have access to that in the Canvas space. But it links to PVD Community Fridge's Instagram page. And now this is like a registered 501c, but the only digital imprint they have is on Instagram. So it's notable in thinking about, a comparable city to Worcester, which Providence very much is, similar community demographics, history, urban flight in a lot of ways. And as a consequence, there are similar analogs here, and I would probably send a direct message to these groups if I was working on this hypothetical, just to see what their experience was like. So you can click now, Phil. Now we can take it forward. Okay, and just really quickly, thinking broadly then about the kinds of different information resources you're going to use when you flush out your research. What I always like to say is think about the kind of work that the resource can do for you, the kind of information it conveys, and how that constellation fits together to produce a nuanced understanding of the problem you're looking at, but also a pathway forward based on what you've seen and the insights of those who have been, looking and observing on the ground. So I always like to say, first things first, identify the type of information you need, whether that is a definition, a theory, or scholarly research that's backed up and vetted by other peer scholars in the field, right? If you do need community level information, perhaps you need more local event-based information. Think about that kind of information, and then think about the kind of resource you can find it in. Obviously, events come from newspapers. More importantly, though, academic journals, they do have that peer-reviewed vetting process, which means many scholars in the field have agreed upon things like concepts, methodologies, viewpoints, and larger understandings of the issues they're looking at. Once you identify the source, then connect it to where we have it in the Gordon Library system. And again, we have a whole plethora of of wonderful resources, right? But not all of them. And that's part of what we can do, is help you identify what we have access to, and where we can go if we don't have that. I always like to point to experiential learning, that's learning on the ground. Think about the way oral histories, those orally conveyed experiences from community members on the ground, how much value it is to listen to people speak to their own experiences in their own words. And there are a vast multitude of oral history archives domestically and around the country. So we invite you to find some of those and bring them back to us so we can give them to future students.
So the research information cycle. So doing research, we talk about it in this cycle where you're starting off. You have your topic, you develop your keywords and strategies, you do some searching, then you review what you found and you evaluate it, and then you take it from there. If you don't have all the information, you need to have more information, you do that whole process again. If you need to change your keywords to refine your results and get a more relevant results, that's what you do. So it's sort of a that process until you have enough information, enough reliable information. So it's not a linear process. It's definitely very much an iterative process. That's just how research works. And let's see. Okay. So because of that, you need a strategy for searching. How do you find this information? Because as I said, researching, it takes time. So you need some kind of a strategy in place to make your searching more effective. So how do you do that? So here are some search tips that we wanted to show you. And as I'm going to do some demonstrating for you in a little while, and a lot of these search tips I'll be incorporating into my searching. This is an example of a video that we've created, quickly explaining to you how to find full text of resources. And so, as I was saying, good search tips: ask a librarian. We really are friendly people, maybe despite what any rumors you might have heard. This is what we do, searching and researching. That's our skill set. That's how we can contribute to your success in this class. And we really enjoy working with all of you. So don't hesitate to be in touch with us. Filters, these I'll be showing you in searching. These are features that you can add to a very basic search to narrow down your result list to a shorter list and one that's more on topic for you. Synonyms is something that you want to consider and generate, because you don't necessarily know the language that's being used in the research on your topic. So if you're just searching one variation of a word or a term, you might be missing out on a lot of what else has been written. So you want to be thinking and generating synonyms. Full text finder, that's the goal in all this, is getting the full text of all the a journal article. Some of your results won't be full text, just be a summary, but you'll see this little icon, find full text. And what that does is that searches all of our databases. We have over 100 databases, searches all of them to see if that article you're looking for is full text somewhere else. And if it is, then it'll come up on your screen and there's your article. If it isn't, then we go to interlibrary loan. And Jason had mentioned that earlier. I think that was one of the areas that students struggle with in getting access to materials that are beyond our walls. Interlibrary loan is the way that you do that. And it's a process where you fill out a simple form, the information about the journal article or even a book. Submit that form, goes to one of our colleagues. She's great. She will be able to find you full text of a journal article in very short time. Short time is days at the most. Books take a little longer because we're getting the physical book delivered to the library. So you want to give yourself more like a week on that. So some additional tips. Hopefully you are all aware of this, and doing it is looking at the bibliography. When you find a good source, a good journal article, always look at the bibliography, because the works that they're citing may also be relevant to you, and a quick way to get to some good relevant data. Also look at the cited by and related articles. You'll see these on the search results page when you call up the actual article. You'll see them on the right-hand side of the page. And these are, again, articles related to what you just searched for that you want to look at, because they, once again, could quickly get you to more relevant and on-topic research. Check the second page of results. We all know, doing Google search, second page, you're just into junk at that point. So who really often checks the second page? But when you're searching through the library resources, if you're searching through our search box, if you're searching through one of our databases, you're searching in the right places to find academic sources. And with some of these search tips, you have a longer list of relevant results because of where you're searching. So the good results don't stop at page one. So always take a look at the second page, and maybe at times even the third page, just because, like I said, you have a longer list of scholarly work, relevant kinds of things, so you don't want to miss out on anything else. Some Google search features that you can employ. You can limit your searching to a specific domain or site type, like edu or .gov or .orgs if you're looking for a nonprofit or something like that. So that can be very helpful to limit your results. So in the first example, community garden is the search term that we're searching for. Then you would add the word site:.gov. And so all your results that you're going to get back are coming from a site that has the .gov in it. Another thing that you can do is you can narrow your results to a location, which obviously is great for everyone who's traveling abroad to another country. You can limit your results to ones that are generated right from your country. So in this example, searching for fauna, site:.nz for New Zealand. So all the results that come back are going to come from New Zealand. So that local aspect of information that you need to collect, this can be one of the very good ways to do that. They're not all going to be scholarly resources, but they're all going to be coming from that country. So it could be scholarly, it could be regular magazine, it could be newspapers, it could be a nonprofit site, but they're all going to come from your location.
This is
okay.
And so, library, and this is
here's another video that you can take a look at. Again, quick, showing you how to use Google Scholar and some of its advanced features. Some more search terms. These are called Boolean search terms. Boolean, it's the same gentleman who Boolean logic, Boolean algebra, which some of you are probably familiar with. And these are terms that you can add to your searching that really can go a long way to narrowing your results list and really getting ones on topic. If you include the word "and" in your search box, then that is going to narrow down your results, because it's not good enough to find one of these terms, refugee or artisan. You need to find both of them. So put a qualifier on it. So that's going to narrow down your results. Or is going to broaden your results, because in this example, it doesn't matter if we get a result that says cats or says felines. It's the same to us. They're synonyms. So we'll take either one. So that's going to broaden it. Not pretty self-explanatory. quotations for searching for phrases. This one can have a really huge impact on how many results you get and weeding out off-topic stuff. So when you want to search for an exact phrase, citizen science in this case, put it in quotations. That's telling the database or the library search to find those exact words together. So find it as a phrase, because if you're getting results that have citizen on page 1 of a scholarly article and science on page 14, that's not good. That's not on topic. That's not your topic. So that's an irrelevant result. It's just clogging up your results list. So put it in quotes. Going to weed out those kinds of results. If you have a letter that you is a wild card that could be a Z, could be an S, then you use the question mark. Sorry about that. And then the last one is something, the asterisk, called truncation by librarians. And what that does is you take the root of the word, put an asterisk at the end, and then in one search, it's going to search all versions of that word. So educate. If we put in that root, we get results with educate, educator, educators, education, educational. So in one search, you get all that looked at. So keep that in mind with some words that you're searching. If they have that possibility of having many variations, then that's a good search term to use. Okay. Okay, now I'm going to do a little searching. Show you the WPI library search. We always recommend that this is one of the resources that you work with because it covers most of the materials that we have here in the library. Then I'm going to show you a database, Scopus, great for social sciences, engineering research. It's huge, the volume of works that are included in there. It's really a huge database, so really a good one to always include. So I'm going to, let's see. Okay. So I'm at the Gordon Library homepage. Everyone can see that. So here's the library search, and I'm going to search for sustainable tourism. So I have that in there. The default search is everything. If you wanted to narrow it down and just search for articles, or just
hold on, Phil. We're still on the PowerPoint. If you wanted to, were you going to switch to the library?
Oh, I'm on the library. You're not seeing that? Okay, let me.
No, we're not.
I think I didn't share that screen as well. Okay. Here we go. Now you're seeing it.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you. So here we are. Here's the search box. For an example, I'm going to search sustainable tourism. Hit search. Hopefully, you are all familiar with using the library search. So here are our results. We have 54,600. So this is a phrase. So let's put it in quotes and let's rerun that search. So we just got rid of 40,000 irrelevant results, 56,000 down to about 16. Still a huge number. Can't go through them all, but you can see with just that one strategy, putting in quotes, how easy it was to get rid of lots of irrelevant stuff. So here we have those results. We're going to add another word. So we're going to add Australia. And use that and. So adding Australia down to 745 results now. So that was pretty quick to take that huge list and get down to a much better number. So along the left, these are the filters that I was talking about. Features that you can add into your searching to narrow down those results to even a shorter list and an even more on topic list. Some of the top ones, subject, these are keywords that are found in your results list, the most prominent ones that are found there. So if the term is a subject term, that means that source is all about that term. Doesn't just mention tourism once. The entire article is all about tourism. So that's going to narrow down your list significantly if you use some of these as subject terms. And then other popular ones are the resource type. So we have 477 journal articles. If we weren't looking for newspaper articles, on the right, you can click that box and exclude something. And then creation date is a key one to use as well. So you can see where, the earliest results from 1995. So that's probably too old. So we want to move that date up, and what that date is, really depends on the subject, what discipline you're looking at. Some disciplines have a shorter shelf life than others. Say the medical field and the science field has a much shorter life of what's current than maybe the field of history. So we're finding that is something to consider. Like I said, get a shorter list. So once you find an article that you like, so I'm going to look at this third one right here. You click on the title, and brings you to this page. You scroll down, and typically you're going to get a description or a summary, or an abstract, it's called. So take a look at this. The title sounded good. Look at this description. It's going to give you more details, and then you can make the decision like, nah, that's not really as good as I thought it was. I'll move on. Or yes, that does sound just what I want. And so then you scroll up, and here's how you can access the full text. Click on that, and here's your journal article. Over here on the right, there's the PDF that you can view, and then here are some of those other tips that I was mentioning. So here is related research. So people have looked at this, the database is tracking it and showing you these are some of the other articles they look at. The recommended articles, as I said, the database looks at our search terms, finds other sources in this database that use those same terms, and then just push them out here to you. It's not a long list, but do just take a look at it, because as I said, it can be a real time saver, can quickly get you to another good article. And then the cited by, once again, this is more recent research that's been done that refers back to this article. So if this article is good for you, more recent research that refers back to it also could be very relevant for you. So again, take a look at it. It can, as I said, speed up your search process, getting you more relevant, reliable results faster. And that's, that's the one thing that we want to be able to pass on to you, is ways to make your searching more effective and more efficient. Okay, so that was that. So that was searching in the library search box. So now I'm going to go and we're going to search in one of our databases. So underneath the search box, we have a link to databases. So we have well over 100 databases here. And if you know the database you want, you can just find it A to Z list, but we also have them broken out in other ways. We have by type. So if you're looking for just newspapers, or you're looking just for patents or statistics, we have those databases grouped together. But we also have them by subject discipline. So all the academic areas in the school, we have pulled together a subset of databases, the top databases for that academic area. The ones where you're going to find the most content on that topic. And so in this case, what we're going to do is we're going to look at environmental studies. And so once again, these are the top database choices from that 100+ list of databases. And you can see, and you've got the description there. We're going to go on into Scopus. So I have the terminus, sustainable tourism. Here's our results list. You know, they all look the same. They're usually all organized the same. We just get them from different vendors. So, you know, they have a different finish to them. Over here are their filters. And what you can narrow down by the year. If you knew an authority in the field, maybe their name is here, and you can search all the works that they've done. Here are the different academic disciplines represented by these results. Keywords, source type, and so you can add any of these filters in, narrow down that list. If we add in Australia, so up here in Scopus on the left, you can search within your results. So we add in Australia. So down to 1. That's interesting. That is because I spelled Australia wrong. Okay. I know I got more than one result last time. So here we are. Here are the results. So in Scopus, everything is an abstract. It's just a summary of the article. So you look at one of these articles, you view the abstract. So there's your little summary. Okay, once again, is this really relevant or not? I don't want to follow up on it. If it is, then here's that icon, the full text finder. And so this is searching all of our databases, brings you to our record on it. And so we do have it right here in Elsevier. There's your article. So in Scopus or in any of the databases that you're searching, don't give up on getting a journal article just because there's no full text link right there. So we saw how it works for you know, here in Scopus. Like I said, everything is an abstract in here, but most of them we can get you the full text in one of our other databases. We wouldn't have subscribed, paid all the money for this database if most of these results you couldn't get full text. So a very high percentage of them you'll be able to get full text. If it was one that we didn't have full text, and I'm just gonna cross my fingers and see if I found one. Okay, so this is also available. If we didn't have it in here, rather than listing the databases that you can click on, it'll have a message like not available, submit interlibrary loan. So I mentioned that earlier. And if you have an interlibrary loan account already set up, when you click on the link here to submit interlibrary loan, it automatically fills out the form for you. You just hit submit, it goes off to my colleague, and she does her work. Okay, off to you, Jason.
Okay, how's everyone doing? Fantastic. All right. And I'll make you a deal. We will take a break in maybe 7 minutes. So let's just, get through this next section. So big picture, right? We've established some core library services. We've talked about different research questions as they relate to different disciplines. We've talked about different information and resources, the kind of information they might convey. Phil gave us a wonderful demonstration of a few tools. So let's say in your own narrative, you followed that process through. You've now found, a handful of good, quote unquote, sources. Now it logically seems like the best place to be is evaluating those sources. So Phil, take us to the next slide. Great. And just to sort of underscore the point, not to belabor it, but not all information is created equal. Obviously, on the left, you have the National Library of Medicine. That's the kind of scholarly research that's vetted by a lot of different practitioners in different fields to a very high degree, obviously. And then on the right, we have what I'll generously call a popular source, right? And I think you can kind of see the difference, right? Just in terms of the layout of things. What we love about the source on the left is you can see the author, you can see affiliations, you can see citations. It's got a lot of the standard trappings of what we call scholarly, peer-reviewed literature. So take us to the next slide, Phil.
Okay. Oops.
Oh.
So here we go.
Great. Yeah, so evaluating sources, the logical conclusion of where we've kind of come to in the narrative thread, right? So to be clear, when it comes to evaluating resources, think about how relevant sources are and how relevant the information is in the context of the project you're doing, and think about its appropriateness, i.e., obviously, you might want to use things like encyclopedias to get a firm definitional understanding of concepts, but you might not want to cite those sort of things. They'll be important for building your base, but again, thinking about appropriateness, right? And obviously, the context of that information. Within something like the social sciences, thinking of the inertia, the literal development of those spheres of knowledge over time, and where that research falls within, how it identifies gaps, how it builds upon previous research paradigms. You can really sort of understand a lot about social research just by understanding where it fits in with the overall flow of what kind of research is being done. And that's big macro thinking. So again, that's good sort of discipline level, subject level kind of searching. So we like to say there are two general kind of strategies that might be quickly applied to resources. And again, you'll be lucky, a librarian will say you have like something like 1,000 to 3,000 search results. That's pretty good. That's the kind of search result sort of field that we might expect you to be able to get through, maybe not fully digest those resources, but with a strategy, we can do those. And we offer kind of like two elements to that, a container level evaluation of the resource itself, and then the substance of that resource, particularly if it's a social science article that has risen to the level of scholarly communication. What's really important, what we really love to stress here is, this is not a conversation about a good source or a bad source. Those are generally surface level kinds of analyses. What we really want students to think about is what is relevant. And we like to challenge our students to really kind of think in an innovative and novel way, what is relevant? Perhaps what's been missing from the past, what has been contributed from previous research, and maybe what points us forward. So, Phil, you want to shoot us to the next one?
Great.
This one I always laugh. I love this slide, right? And I always say this kind of evaluation is akin to casing the joint. Now, I usually ask the classroom of WPI students what that means. And infrequently am I told what it means. I really should probably have a picture of like the Home Alone criminals, like on Christmas Eve when they're kind of like at the McAllister house, taking a look at the doors, the entrances. What it really means is you want to be able to do a quick evaluation of notable, significant things from a resource perspective before you even engage in the reading. What we recommend is you follow the 5 W's formula. And it's all those questions you would probably expect, all the interrogatives: who, what, when, where, and why. And if you can develop a practice where you ask yourself these questions as you are viewing the literal first page of a scholarly article, you'll really be able to at least focus in that first level. If this is something you might want to say, save to Zotero, pass along to a team, or circle back to give a little more nuanced reading. So surface level questions: who the author is, editors, creators, etc. What kind of document this is, what kind of resource. Again, connecting the kind of resource to the information might clarify and expedite your expectations. You might more quickly know what you're looking at, right? And broadly, what is this about? And that's going to bring us into that more substance level in just one second. When, again, Phil rightly mentioned, there are some fields, medical fields, engineering fields, maybe even international relations that update so regularly you need hypercurrent information. So think about that. But by the same token, historical methods really give us deep structure to experience, to social conditions, and that's going to have a place as well. Where do the authors pull their information from? You can probably identify that right on the first page. The sample we have to the right, the author astutely references themselves, which kind of connects a feedback loop back to previous work. But even seeing that, you could infer this is someone who's published, and this is someone who's published within a discipline, tradition, or a scholarly community. And then why, what was the goal? And we don't want to necessarily use the agenda word per se, but there certainly is, let's say, intention behind a piece. And oftentimes these are more than just kind of think pieces or white papers, these kinds of position kind of papers. These are about evidence-based evaluations, particularly in the social sciences. So Phil, you want to give me a click real quick? Oh, there we go. Right. And so what you're looking at is the front page of a library and information science research article. And yes, people, that is a field, library and information science, to which we all come from. Yeah, thank you. So you can see, looking at the front page of scholarly article, you can identify all of these things, these important features that at least pass that first hurdle of evaluation. You can do this quickly by the eyes, as though you're looking to rob the joints, so to speak. So how about we move to the next piece? Great. Now the abstract, and Phil had mentioned Scopus, and that's a great database, right? What I love about Scopus is it does forefront the abstract of an article, because let's be clear, you want to get into the substance of an article by looking at the abstract. Now, a lot of people might think that you are cheating, that you're cheating the dealer in some way, the card dealer, that is, that you're cheating the dealer, so to speak, by just looking at the abstract, by just trying to identify the most salient, notable, noteworthy, significant things from a research work. But I'm here to tell you that you're not cheating. In fact, you are acting like a savvy, cunning social scientist who also has to wade through a sea of very technical literature, sometimes quite familiar, sometimes quite foreign. So the reality is the abstract is a particular structural element of scholarly publication that lets you cut right through. Yeah. And I always say this, in the words of a brilliant professor at WPI, you're looking for the golden line. A singular sentence probably in that abstract that'll tell you what this was about, why we did it, or the researchers did it, and what the conclusions were. So the abstract will tell you quite a bit, and that's a tight paragraph. And you'll probably find those sentences mixed within various elements of the paper. So the abstract, your first move after you have decidedly evaluated a source to be up to the scholarly vetting process that you would expect, go to the abstract. Phil, flip us. We're almost at break, I promise. The results and discussions. Yeah, and let's be very clear. The way I would read an article is I'd look at that metadata on the front, I'd look at the bibliography, I'd go to the abstract, and then I'd go to the results and the discussion, if it can come out. So what I'm really saying is you're kind of doing a back and forth, right? You're not getting so deep into the work, but you are using the pieces of the work to identify what is significant about it. The results and discussion will restate questions, a methodology, how data was collected. It'll do it very quick, very streamlined. Do check out that results section. The discussion will also situate that work in a broader sphere of knowledge, and it'll also point you in the directions of the frontiers where this research might be going, new questions that have emerged, or things that have been sloughed off as we look forward with the wind at our backs, hopefully. Okay, Phil, you want to switch? Great. And really quickly, we always like to say this. Yes, and we have a wonderful video. Yeah, and it's really flashy and slick. So to be very clear, you will at some point come across information that you need to find on the open web, on the internet. This might, let's say, move outside the system of scholarly resources, something that we really like to drill down into. But again, like I had mentioned previously, sometimes you have to do that open web searching. So we say this, if you're collecting information, either from the open web or from a notable social media handle, something to that effect, we advocate using a strategy called SIFT, which is essentially acting like a fact checker. The idea with a fact checker is when they're fact checking a fact, a line item, a news article, they spend very little time on the resource themselves. And what they do is they quickly try to go to other resources to verify and corroborate that evidence or information. If you can find multiple people talking about something, you're one step further. The idea with SIFT is you want to try to trace claims back to that moment of origination, to the moment they were first reported, perhaps published or created, and that'll give you some context in who that creator is and if this is a source you want to use going forward. So stop, investigate, find other sources and trace those claims to the origin. Let's be very clear. If you can't move 3 to 4 steps from a source on the web, well, you might want to wonder who's creating that, what their agenda might be, and exactly if this is, quote, appropriate for your own work.